Okay, earlier in the month, we chatted about a topic that really got people talking. This was so cool to see you guys connecting. It was called toxic positivity, the idea. So now it's time to take a deeper dive into this conversation and get answers to some difficult questions because you guys said you wanted more. We could not do that without the help from our good friend, Dr. Sharon Patterson. Thanks you so much for being back with us to, quote, confess our mess and move on.
Hannah, it is time to confess our mess. I was blown away by the response to that segment. People not only in North Texas, but on my social media feeds picked it up and were talking about because it impacts us. So many of us are guilty of toxic positivity.
You know, I was going to say, I wouldn't say surprised because I know I resonated with that topic. It was encouraging maybe to see the way people connected with it. What was it that you saw? What were some things that you heard from people when we spoke about that idea last week? And why do you think it connected?
The main thing was it was so pervasive. Everybody is looking to feel good, Hannah. We are going through this pandemic and we are hurting. And what's happened, our society has become obsessed with feeling good. You see t-shirts, good vibes only, or feel good, or be happy. And so as coping mechanisms to help us make it through these difficult times, we have obsessed and latched on to feeling good and rejecting bad. That's where the trouble comes in.
So I was going to say, to kind of sum it up for folks that may have not seen it last week, the idea of toxic positivity, and tell me if I have this correctly or not, it's the idea that if somebody comes to you with a really difficult situation, says, I just lost a loved one, maybe you respond and say, everything happens for a reason. Your intention is to be positive, but what you're doing is denying that person's pain, correct? Is that right?
Hannah, that's perfect. Toxic positivity is the belief that a positive phrase is appropriate at all times. It's a forced positivity. And there are times when you ought to just stop and not be positive and get into the negativity with that person.
Okay. All right. And so you came up with really some, I love this, a list of do's and don'ts. So we know what to do in difficult situations. The first one is confess our mess.
Let's just admit that we are all guilty of this. Admit that we tend to say, it's going to be okay. Think positively. I made it through. You can make it through. Admit that it's grain inside of you and it's time to get it out of you and to confess it and to begin to make mental checks about what you say and how you say it to people. Really focus in on the person, not how you feel, but how they feel.
Dr. Patterson, why is that important to acknowledge whatever our struggle is or what another person's struggle is? What does that do for us, simply just confessing it and acknowledging it?
Yeah. Hannah, the bottom line is it's time to get real. It's safe to be artificial and superficial, but now with this toxic positivity, it's time to get real and be authentic and allow people to be their authentic selves around you. Because what you don't want, Hannah, is to be so artificial, to be so happy all the time that you are annoying and irritating and people don't want to be around you.
Yeah, you feel like you can't really be open with them. The next one is find a balance, because you don't want to go too far the other way with negativity, right?
Exactly. Here's a good balance. Find a good balance between it's going to be okay and I see you hurting. Do you want to talk about that?
I really like that. It's a different way of looking at it. The next one is to embrace your emotions as opposed to, stuff them down.
We as human beings tend to run away from our emotions. Sometimes we even demonize our emotions. But Hannah, our emotions are our friends. They give us signs and signals and input as to what's going on around us. And so when those negative emotions flare up, it's not time to run from them or cover them up with a good vibes only and a smile, but to stop and say, hey, what's going on? Let's unpack that. Because if you try to ignore it, you repress it. And when you repress it, it gets bigger and bigger and blows up on you later on.
Dr. Patterson, this next one I love. It's okay to not be okay. And there was actually a quote from Brene Brown who said that this is tough for perfectionists. And she said, perfectionism isn't about being perfect. It's about hiding any vulnerabilities or flaws. You just want to appear perfect on the outside.
Hannah, you are exactly right. And Brene did coin this phrase, but it is okay not to be okay. Give people space to to be in a time of pain. Give people space to mourn. Hannah, I want to say to you this morning, this COVID virus has me nervous and upset and anxious. And I feel okay about not being okay.
Well, thank
Just
you.
put it out there and live in that not being okay.
Yeah, because I think people, when they keep it to themselves, they say, am I the only one struggling with this? Last one, you say, real quickly, just listen. And I want to tell you real quickly, after our last segment last week, a woman called us to say how much your conversation helped her after she lost her mother. And her faith community essentially said that, you know, everything happens for a reason. And she said, I know they didn't mean it, but I just wanted them to listen. 15 seconds. What's your thought on that?
Oh, yes. Just listen. Don't try to fix everything because number one, you can't. Number two, the person that's coming to you wants to be heard. People want to be heard, and when they are heard, they are validated. And we humans want validation. We want to be heard and made to feel that we are authentic and valuable people.
Dr. Patterson, I cannot thank you enough for your time. We will definitely be having you back because I think we've tapped into something that people are really resonating with.
Thank you, Hannah. Have a good day.
You too. We'll see you soon.